Hello, welcome back. Today we will discuss about the title The Fly very shortly and expressively. The story Katherine Mansfield bears the title The Fly. Actually, the story consists of three parts. The first part centers around old Woodfield, who came to the boss's office and informed him of his daughter's travel to Belgium, in course of which they had seen by chance the grave of the boss's son lying close by the grave of their own brother. The second part centers around the reaction which this report raised in the boss's mind. During the 6 years that had passed, he had almost forgotten all about his boy, but this suddenly raised a flood of emotions in him. He shut the door to weep for the dead boy because earlier he had found it to be the only way of getting some relief. He remembered how he had built up this business so that his son might one day step into his shoes. The boy had actually been learning the rules and procedures and become the object of admiration to all. But then came the news of his death in the war, making both his business and life utterly meaningless. He looked at the boy's photograph, but he seemed to be cold and even stern looking. The boss took his hands from his face but could not cry. He felt puzzled. The last part centers around a fly that accidentally fell into the boss's ink pot. Seeing it unable to come up the wet and slippery sides of the ink pot, the boss took it up from it with his pen and shook it on a piece of blotting paper. After a moment, it began the immense task of cleaning its wings and face with its tiny legs and succeeded in doing so. Then an idea flashed in his mind. He dropped a blot of ink on the new cleaned fly. This went on for 3 times. Each time he marveled at the courage and tenacity of the fly. He also encouraged it and even breathed on it to help in the drying process. He further decided that after another drop of ink on it, he would never continue the process. But the fly made no movement. It was dead. The boss lifted it with the end of his penknife and flung it into the waste paper basket. He asked his grey haired messenger to replace the old blotting paper with a new one at once. Notwithstanding this, such a greeting feeling of misery overtook him that he felt positively frightened. He passed the handkerchief inside his collar to stop his perspiration. He felt uneasy and puzzled. He tried his best to remember something important but failed. Of the three parts of the story, the last part concerned with the fly is undoubtedly the most important because it has a significant moral meaning and because it could result in the misery and fear of an old, wealthy, and experienced man like the boss. In the fairness of things, the author has therefore done right to name her story after the fly. No reader of Katherine Mansfield The Fly can ignore the following famous line that Shakespeare used in his tragedy King Lear. As flies to wanton boys are we to the gods, they kill us for their sport. Tense, these lines state that the gods kill us, human being. Here, us is human being for their amusement or fun, and the same idea is intensified with an analogy. God's killing us has been compared to the destruction of lives by irresponsible and unrestrained boy. Now, the fly narrates a similar theme. In the third part of the story, we find an episode in which a harmless fly is wantonly killed not by a boy but by an old and supposed to be responsible man. But if we closely examine his act, we shall have no difficulty to describe it as a boyish act that is irresponsible and cruel, thoughtless and unrestrained. The boss actually did a sensible and human like act by picking the fly out of the ink pot and thereby saving it from danger and letting it have life. But after his first act, the devil took possession of him, and he went on dropping blot after blot of ink as soon as the fly painfully finished its act of self cleaning. It cannot be excused. It cannot be excused, even if some guess that the boss was merely experimenting with the fly's stamina or power of endurance. Had he continued such experiments on himself, they might have been morally justified. But instead of that, he was doing a most senseless and cruel act upon the fly, a poor and already hurt insect. He did not cease from it till he performed it for the fourth time. We therefore cannot but call such act as wanton and boyish, irresponsible and unrestrained, as Shakespeare did in his King Lear. The killing of the fly shows the existence of cruelty and violence lying deep in human nature, no matter whether one is a boy or an adult. As the little insect helps to reveal the brutality of man, the author is perfectly justified in naming her narrative as the fly. In the above extract of Shakespeare, we also notice how gods kill us for their sport. In Katherine Mansfield The Fly, there is reference of the killing of the boss's son as well as the sons of old Woodfield in the war. Now, who assumes the role of the gods in such killing is controversial. Some says that the gods mean fate, while some take them to be the enemy. If they mean fate, it is not something tangible that can be marked and treated. Even if it has existence, it is made of so many tangible and intangible factors that can neither be counted nor handled. This leaves us with the enemy, human beings, deep down whom lie unreasonable and unending cruelty and violence. They possibly do not say that they kill human beings for sport. They replace it with something glorious like patriotism. But the cold blooded and insensible slaughter of human beings in the war clearly shows that the position held by a human being at such a time is no better than a fly, and that killings in such a great number goes on only because it is a kind of sport to the slaughterers. Hence, the death of the boss's son shows man's ignoble and worthless fly-like position in the world. Katherine Mansfield, who herself was much moved by the death of her dearly loved brother Leslie, is therefore perfectly justified in naming her short story The Fly. Thank you everyone for listening this video.